Okay. Namaste, mighty companions. You know, the Course talks about when you come to a certain place, then you meet your mighty companions. Never does it say you lose them. We all walking each other home, you know? So we're all once mighty companions, always mighty companions. That's what I say. If anyone has a suggestion what they would like me to talk about, I'd be happy to accommodate. What comes to my mind is a poem I wrote when I was 15. And if you'll, allow me, hi Rico. We just, well, has it been so very long, or does it seem that way, that I have walked alone in fear, searching all the way? My heart is torn, yet no one knows. My cries are seldom heard. Inside, I hold the tears of pain, for loneliness and confusion are not just words. The world is beautiful for all to see, but in my world, there is just me. My soul is mocked. I am no good. How can I function while being misunderstood? I am too many people for me to bear, yet I know some need me, and I know I care. Is there a hand? Is there a heart that holds and gives just truth? I am lost, confused, alone, and afraid. So I'll wander through stumbles, hurts, and falls. And maybe along the way, there will be someone who was hurt too, and they'll give me a Band-Aid.
Very nice. Thank you.
I like that.
Thank you so much. I wasn't very happy. I know I didn't want to be here. You know, like there was, my stories involve violence and mental health problems and attempted suicide and being an alcoholic. And I never, ever, ever, ever thought that I'd be in joy. I wrote another poem on in 2012. I call it Now at 58. Decades folded in my mind, crumbled as roses never pressed. The aroma lingers through each part. So many lives lived as one. The shell of flesh, being age contagious, remembers it's more than a walking corpse. As Jesus in his distressing disguises is still Jesus in all his light.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I like that.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, Len.
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned that you once thought of suicide, and by the way, I've had thoughts of putting a gun to my head, but it was only a thought. But on the other hand, there was a teacher at ACIM Gather. Her name is Susan Michelle. Some of you may know her. And she has a book coming out. She had attempted suicide for real when she was much younger.
Mm-hmm.
She has a book called From Suicide to Serenity. I think the original title was From Suicide to Joy. And of course, it's a story of her whole life, where she really was looking in very dark places, and she wants to end it all. So what is your advice for someone who's going through that?
My advice for someone who's going through that is be with people who understand. Don't lose hope. Keep the faith and trust. And pray. Keep praying. Yeah, she just wrote a book about my story. Yeah, one time I took 89 pills, and after they pumped my stomach, they sent me to Creedmoor State Hospital. in Creedmoor State Hospital, I was in an adolescent pavilion at 15, and the girls wanted my clothes, and they beat my face against the floor while the guards stood around and watched. I escaped from there. My friend came, and I says, "We got to get out of here." And I escaped. And my face was black and blue. And they called my mother, "Your daughter escaped." And I called her and said, "Don't put me back in there." She didn't know. She thought she was helping me. But yeah, it was yeah, I'm as unhappy as I was then. That's how grateful I am now.
That's beautiful.
That
I understand it.
Is Creedmoor the
Really?
place that's on Staten Island?
No, it's somewhere in Queens. They have bars on the window. It's impossible to escape, but
Is that the place that Geraldo Rivera did a big, he exposed what's going on there?
it might have been, yes. It was a horrible. Oh, but I like now I see, like, I'm looking at the stories of my life, and I've been graced to just choose to take the love from them, you know. Even with relationships that didn't, what got, like my ex-husband, what got us together was, I'll never, when I think about him, I'll think about how much we loved each other. And that was another thing. When I was married, and I was one of 4 women attacked in my neighborhood. And this was a 15-year-old guy. He held a gun to a woman's baby's head. And my husband had just gotten laid off, and he had a gun, and he walked in, and I grabbed the guy around the neck, and I says, "Tony, run, he's got a gun." But I don't know what happened in the hospital and everything. And that was another hospitalization for me. But my eldest brother says I should make write a book, and I said, I got my poetry. My poetry has always been there. I used to write about everything. But let me read you a poem that I wrote in 2017, was when my shift really started to take off. I call it Om. Let me step inside my shoes. I will be led from there. As breath powers this flesh and time, I am always in these shoes.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that.
I was
I love
through a heavy duty shift, and I've been in therapy most of my life, all my life, and this therapist told me I didn't need therapy anymore. And, like, I was talking to her, and, when you have a shift like that, it takes a while to digest it. And she kept validating me. I'm saying, no, it can't be. Not good enough. It wouldn't happen to me, blah, 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 blah. And I still work with NAMI. There's such a humane place, National Affiliation for Mental Illness. And I started a meeting there, Spirituality Speaks. Everybody's welcome, You could say you're from Mars, just as long as you don't hurt yourself or anybody else. I have a sister-in-law who's a militant atheist who tries to get me in arguments. Okay, whatever, My Dalai Lama says my religion is kindness, and but this shift. Oh, I'm sorry, Dove. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I just have, go ahead.
It was the synchronicity was palpable when I joined AA. When I joined AA, like life became so gentle for me. I joined AA at 39 years old. And I remember the first meeting I said, and they came to me and I said, well, I might be an alcoholic. And they said, keep coming back, keep coming back. And there was a sign, we will love you till you love yourself. And, you know, AA is so much like the course, right? Oh, not to break anonymity, but we're all family, yeah. But, but, you know, that started the miracles. And in AA, I found Mary Wilson's book, A Return to Love. I read it 3 times. I said, I got to get the book she's talking about. And I got the book and I opened it. I'm going, oh, this makes sense. You know, like life never made sense. I always said, if this was all there was to life, it's got to be a cruel joke. But looking at it from this perspective, if that's what I had to be or whatever, the way I had to live to get where I am, I understand now. And I'm very grateful. Okay, so I read, I got A Course in Miracles, you know, like I was blown away. You know, I'm validated, makes sense. And then I gobbled it up like, and then I got to the lessons, bam, you know, I could only do 1 a day. Oh no, oh no. But, you know, I was good. I only did 1 a day. I got to the last lesson and I found John Monday at Interfaith Fellowship. And then after that, I met Rabbi Gelberman. I went to seminary. The synchronicity kept going and it still keeps going. And my God, you know, I don't need anything. I got everything I need. And I said something at my group today. I said, you know, we go around the room, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful? And I shared, I'm grateful for everything. Even the bad stuff that happens is, of course, it's leading me home. And then I got off the phone and ego started, you know, hitting me in the head. Why are you nuts? You bring bad love it. And, you know, I'm going, oh, okay, thanks for sharing, you know, and it's all about vigilance. I've been blown away all these years, you know, since looking at it a different way and seeing so many people going through the same thing. It's like, oh my God, you know, when it happened to me, no one was really talking about it. You know, and I couldn't, you know, it's so funny. I wanted to tell John Monday, but I didn't know how. So I handed him this big book of poetry I wrote. Here, read this. You know? And well, you know, he didn't read it, but, you know, but it was then when COVID, I heard people talking about it. And I said, oh, wow, you know, and it's amazing. Who would have thought, you know, like Ram Dass, he, you know, at that time I couldn't be a member of his commune or his ministry, but now he's my disembodied boyfriend. I don't care who knows it. But that's, you know, I didn't know what to share today. I'm thinking, oh, gee, you know, somebody give me a topic, but this came up, I guess. So that's, thank you.
Lynn, I want to say, I thought your story that you just told is a fabulous story. And you used the word, life has been a synchronicity, that whatever it is that you needed happened to be there for you. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question. Can you look and see, was there any one driving force that kept you going? Like, is there something that kept you going as a purpose? And I could, because I also heard you use the word Because when I asked you, what is it that got you out of the suicidal thing? And I heard you use the word pray. So you always had a relationship with God?
Oh, my first miracle happened that I remember, when I was about 8 years old, and I went to visit I used to have night terrors, wake up screaming in the middle of the night. And so I went to visit my aunt out in Pennsylvania, and I woke up screaming. And she says, well, she thought I did it to bother her, but after a while she settled down and realized I didn't. And she gave me a sitter. And she says, say this prayer before you go to sleep. My nightmares stop. That was the first miracle in my life. The second miracle that I remember is when I was 12, I was in a hit and run car accident. And they gave me 2 hours to live. And and they didn't take credit for saving me. Like more and more, they used to bring more and more doctors in and said, this is the miracle. And yeah, and another miracle happened when my friend fell, and she did recently. This was at the funeral. She fell in the church, and she has osteoporosis. Nothing happened. That's the miracles too. There's no order of difficulty. That, yeah, miracles. Yeah, I love miracles.
I love you.
Oh, I love you. But
First to volunteer to lead, as basically that's how you develop recognizing that we all have the same voice for spirit speaking to us and through us, when I'm willing to just let go and see what comes out. Because you never know. I mean, it's great that you didn't plan and you came in. I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I asked for a topic, but that's the way you begin to develop trust. Trust in knowing that spirit is always there with you and for you, always.
that's the only way I could live. Really, I couldn't live any other way. The world still doesn't make sense, like, but I have this thing, where I have this invisible list of everything that doesn't make sense. And I put it on the invisible list. It's going around the world a few times already, but I don't keep it here. I just put on the list. But I'm so I'm so much enjoy to see how much light there is. I turn on YouTube, and I'm hearing these things, and it's so wonderful. It's, yeah, call it evolution, call it transformation, call it anything, words, but symbols are symbols, twice removed from reality. But it's wonderful. Aaron Apke, he's a kid, and he's bringing, like us, we're the old hippies, but I speak for myself. But, like Aaron Apke is bringing in the younger ones. And I think it's so wonderful. And how everything functions together. I remember at one spiritual meeting, a woman said, excuse me if there are any Trump lovers here, but she said she pictured Trump zippering his Trump suit, and there was all light in there. Of course, I guess we're all working I don't know what anything is for. I want to ask you, Doug, but I do know what it's for. It's for our awakening.
Yeah, that's right.
So I do know. I do know. Yeah.
That lesson 25, I do not know what anything is for. That was my mantra lesson for about 17, 18 years, because I realized that even though I thought I knew almost what everything was for, my wanting to be right was getting in my way. And the course says, listen, this is not your home. You're not supposed to know what the laws of chaos, the laws of the ego are for. So ask of all things of this world, what is it for? Because you don't know. And it's your willingness to step back and let him lead the way that allows you to begin to develop trust. But if you already know what everything is for, you're really listening to the ego. You're definitely listening to the ego. And, and with that, I'm going to mention something. I'm going to put it here on the chat room, on the chat. This is paragraph 10 from text chapter 30, section 1, called the rules for decision. We all are pretty much, if you're familiar with the course, you should know something about chapter 30, which is next to the last chapter. And this is where he has, he says, if you start your day off by visioning the day you want to have for yourself, and then your day doesn't turn out to be that particular way, you must already have some kind of a decision that you made earlier that's blocking you and getting in your way. Now, I just want to read what paragraph 10 says, because this is one of every Tuesday we do a deep dive into the text. Zoom is there on Tuesdays with us. And this is the last section. This is the last paragraph in chapter 30. This is what it says. Now you have reached the turning point, because it has occurred to you that you will gain if what you decided is not so. Until this point is reached, you will believe that your happiness depends on being right. But this much reason have you now attained. You would be much better off if you were wrong. So this is the part of the course where I kind of repeat almost every week. Jesus says, do you want to be right? Or do you want to be happy? Choose one. You can't have both. So the ego always wants to be right. I'm talking about me, by the way. I'm not talking about, so you feel that, well, if I'm right, people will respect me. They'll think highly of me. And so the ego has a real desire and urge to be right. It doesn't want to be wrong. So you can see how the exact opposite allows us to be free of this controlling mechanism that basically says, oh yeah, I know what everything is for. Well, of course the ego knows what everything is for. The ego gave names to everything in this world. It gave meanings to everything in this world, which is why we always go back to lesson 1. Nothing I see here means anything. The ego says, what? That's baloney, because I know what things mean. Of course the ego knows what things mean. It gives meaning to the meaningless, which is probably the first 14 lessons of the course is all about my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. And then in lesson 2, he says, well, just in case anything means anything to you, just remember, you're the one who's given it all the meaning to you, for you. So by saying, I do not know what anything is for, you're opening up your mind to spirit to step in and show you what things are for. Are there any thoughts on that at all? Yeah, Lynn?
Step back and let him lead the way.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Lesson 155. Let me step back and let him lead the way. If you notice at the end of this paragraph, I put something I came up with today. I spoke about it earlier. When you make a mistake, you say, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that and all that. Just take a mulligan. And for those people who know something about golf, a mulligan means you can tee up the ball and just hit it again, and you don't add a point to your score. It's scoreless. Nobody counts it against you. You're just taking another shot. That's all. Choose once again is the last chapter, last section of the Course in Miracles. Take a mulligan or choose once again.
You know what I also wanted to talk about?
Yeah,
The course. It has different levels, but they're all going on at once, it seems. Like okay, when I'm in I do I'm sorry about that. I face the front. When I do devotional yoga, I'm in devotion to, to total self, which is all. But it's like it's okay to go back and forth with it. Like, okay, sometimes my ego comes up. Okay, I'll allow it, as long as I can look at it. And I once mentioned the darkness. It was like a cartoon. The darkness came in and I looked at it and it went like this and I went like that. It's meeting. Yeah, it's okay. What I'm trying to say, like today, I was feeling so insecure. I didn't know what to talk about, and then I found myself getting a little agitated, and then I says, wait, if I make whatever I say, it's okay. So it's like I'm with myself, but I am myself. Even though I'm with myself, I am myself. Like the course has very dualistic language, but it's a non-dual, definitely non-dual. Because everything is everything. Everything is everything. Yeah. Did I just ramble on?
no,
Okay.
perfect. Exactly what you just said. No matter what comes through you, it's perfect. This is a course that you cannot get wrong. You can't get the course wrong. Actually, the course is kind of scripted, or our lives are scripted. I mean, it says that the script is already written. We're just going through the motions. I mean, someone like Byron Katie many years ago said, uh, uh, I'm being walked, I'm being talked. So the things that come through us, you, if you take things seriously, and I noticed that you do a lot of laughter during your talking, which I think is wonderful, to be able to have your gentle laughter at yourself, knowing that here I am, it's me, and and you're always laughing. So I want to ask you, because we're reaching the top of the hour. So basically, you went no, the top of the first half hour was already okay. Which I want to ask you, can you share your experience of being the first teacher to volunteer?
It's an honor. It's an honor. I'm glad I was led here. I'm glad Holy Spirit keeps raising my hand somehow. Like with the funeral, I wasn't going to go, the funeral that I was at, I wasn't going to go to Long Beach with the ashes. Of course, I'm not used to going out that much. It's so funny. I live in an old convent. And it's perfect, like I do devotional yoga here. I'm with God. And I go out when I have to, because and the sun comes into me. I love this apartment. But okay, so I was asked, to officiate the funeral, and then I, like Paul John Monday, how do I do a Catholic mass? I had to learn that at seminary, and he says, call the church, say call the church. And the father was a real nice person. So I wound up, I read something from the New Testament, and I I did the eulogy, but I wasn't, and I wore my prayer shawl. And I wasn't going to go out with them to the beach to, with the ashes, say goodbye. But my friend says to me, Lynn, you sure you don't want to come out? I says, I'll come out. And I've always said that, and I'm so glad I went, I went, I went in the first time I went on the beach in a long time, and I went in the water with her ashes, and she loved the water, and it's good when you step back and let them lead the way. You do double take. Wait, did I just raise my hand? I'm really glad I did it, because it's
I am too.
Hmm?
I am too.
It's all about love.
You are an inspiration to all of us, Lynn. Truly. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Does anyone here have any thoughts that they want to share after the first half hour of listening to Lynn? Anyone at all?
I'm curious what you chose to read from the New Testament. Do you remember?
Revelation, of course, Cindy. Revelation 1.56, 1 to, I got it right here. Let me see. Revelation 1-5, 6-7. John saw a new heaven and a new earth. Yeah.
I think Cindy is going to read the NTI version.
Oh,
I can.
great.
Would you like me to do that?
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
Yes. Thank
All
you.
right, let me grab it.
Yeah.
It was there's a lot of pessimistic things in the Old Testament and the New Testament, but there are optimistic things too. Like with my friend, she had a rough life, but she found joy in loving, to have friends, and yeah.
Revelation chapter 1.
1.5, 6.7. Yeah. It starts with
Well, NGI is not going to sound the same.
oh, okay.
What was it? About chapter 1?
Yeah.
1.5. So you ready?
1 to and 6.7.
Okay.
What points are there? I didn't, is it
No,
divided by
dash.
points?
Well,
Dash, not point.
so we're going to really just read Revelation chapter 1, verses 1 through 7, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. The time is at hand. All that you need to accept the truth of you is with you and within you now. There can be nothing that you lack for which you must ask. It has been given, and so you have it with you fully now. The world is an illusion, and so everything you experience as you let go of the world. Well, the world is an illusion, and so everything you experience as you let go of the world is illusion also. You are not to believe any of it, but helpful symbols will be given to guide you. Remember that they are only symbols. Follow them, realizing you know not where they lead. Do not idolize anything within the world or any symbol or any thought that is sent to lead you from the world. Hold to them as they are useful, but let them go when their usefulness has passed. You are to keep moving by letting go until you find yourself with nothing left to hold on to. Look and see what you shall see. Know that it comes to you like passing clouds, but it comes on the wings of heaven so that you can let it go. Nothing within the world comes to you for any other purpose. Nothing within the experience of the world is to be held to. It is all given that you may look at it and choose to let it go.
That's a beautiful reading, by the way. Thank you so much for that, Cindy. Is there anyone here who's not familiar with NTI and how it's different than from the New Testament? Anyone at all?
Yeah, me.
Keith, okay. I kind of thought that. If it's okay, I'm going to ask Cindy to give her appraisal of why, or
So-
her perception of why NTI is a little bit different. Go ahead, Cindy.
So even though I have more than one copy of this book, this is literally the only book I've ever picked up and taken to home office Max and asked them to put a spiral on it because of my notes. I've never done this with, and I've never used a book like this one. Regina was inspired she was told quite clearly, and she never intended to publish it. She never thought that far in advance. Just through her contemplations, she was asked to open up the New Testament, and she read it basically one chapter, one verse at a time. She would sit and take it. I think it took 5 to 7 years, and she contemplated every paragraph and wrote what came to her through inner wisdom. And the net result is the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament. So she would just read a section, sit with it,
Yeah.
and write.
Actually, it was 3 years.
But from the time she started writing to when it was published,
Yes, from 2006, when she started, and it was ready for publishing in 2008.
and what's
remember-
interesting, yeah, she learned to develop trust during this period too, which was fascinating, because similar to Helen, she didn't believe everything that was being written, and she changed some things or wouldn't. She hand wrote it, sort of like Helen, and then went and typed it in, but she changed some things. So before she published it, she brought a nun, I think it was a Buddhist nun that was a friend of hers, and one other person, and they went through everything line by line and returned it back to the original transmission before she released it.
So true, so true. Yes. I remember those days very well. Truly. Any thoughts on anything that was said by anybody? Any experience you want to bring up now?
Rico has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rico, I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Story of my life. Nobody ever sees me. I'm only kidding. Good evening, family and friends. Thank you for
Hi,
allowing me to
Rico. I see you, Rico. Hi.
life from my heart to yours. Nice to be here. Yeah, I have two things I'd like to share briefly. One is, Lynn, I couldn't believe I could love you more. But after today, I do. So thank you for sharing you.
God,
And,
I love you.
I wanted to comment on the NTI. I think Cindy introduced me to it maybe about a year and a half ago. Well, actually 89 weeks ago, to be exact. And I've never read the Bible in my life, ever. I'm just not a Bible thumper. I don't have anything against it. I don't have anything for it. I was just never attracted to read the Bible. NTI knocked my socks off, and it's still in the process of knocking my socks off. I almost, and excuse my phrase, I almost just met Jesus, because the Jesus in NTI is not the one I've been running from all my life. And NTI just, I keep it very close. It's my go-to now. I'm like, what? And I told Susan Telford, I said, I can't believe I ducked the Bible all this time. And I see why now. I was supposed to get this version. And NTI has really changed my perspective, my life, and the way I think and feel. I mean, it's just something in, I can't point to one thing in there and say that's me, but each chapter that I've read so far has given me something. And about 40 weeks ago, I was so excited. I said, this is it. And each chapter after that gets better and better. And I don't mean better in terms of judgments, just deeper and more that I can extrapolate and actually apply to my life. It's not
Yeah,
like,
but
It's not a theoretical framework for me. It's
It's
something that
gentle healing though, Rico. It's not just NTI, but you know, I almost called you this week. You know why, right? With what's going on in gentle healing this week.
no,
Very, very, very clearly, you're told that you're no longer a beginner. You've read it, right? Every single day this week in gentle healing. It says it's time for you to take responsibility for your own awakening. You're not a beginner anymore.
I
And
like
every
my
time I
novice,
read
Reverend
that, I think of
Sidney.
you.
I like my
What?
novice. I like my novice. Because I'm around, you guys been doing this 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I still feel like a beginner, not in comparative analysis. It's just that 10 years from now, I might still be saying, I'm new here. I like feeling new. Feels good. Feels like love.
It's family, right?
Yeah.
And I have my copy. I must
mine.
admit, I don't go to it like I go to the Course of Miracles. In fact, what I want to say about NTI is I think it's equivalent to A Course of Miracles. In other words, there's no difference in what is being said. And I heard your reading. It said the world is an illusion. Now we all know that in the New Testament it doesn't say the world is an illusion. So you can see how NTI really is like identical in a lot of ways to A Course in Miracles. Because I
I
know the
agree.
course for so many years, I go there rather than here. But I can tell you, if you open up exactly as Cindy did or as Lynn did, you'll come to a place where basically it says the same thing. It says the same thing as the course. I'm going to also read. I have a book that was inscribed by Regina Dornakis, who was the scribe, by the way. She didn't write this course. She heard the Holy Spirit speaking to her. She asked, well, you know, she would read a paragraph in Matthew or John or Luke, and the voice would speak to her and give it the interpretation. And this is what she inscribed in my book. Dove, my love, thank you. You did it all. I may have let this book come through me, but you rang the bell and said, quote, look, listen, it's here, quote unquote. So she's quoting something I said, which I don't remember saying it, but that's what she said. Look, listen, it is here, quote unquote. So again, thank you. I can't imagine doing this without you. Love, Regina.
Man, mine only says, Zulma, I love you. I'm thrilled to have met you live. Love, Regina. But I'll take it. Yes, we were. I remember, like you remember, Dove, like a lot of us do, when Regina was coming to Pal Talk. I remember those days. I remember, meeting her at I think it was Be the Love with John Mundy, and we had a ball. Oh my God, we laughed with Scott. What's Scott's last name? Who sings the songs? Oh, anyway,
Scott
he's
Grace.
starts with a K.
Scott Grace.
Scott, okay, yeah, Scott Grace. That's the name he uses. But yeah, he's hilarious, and we had such a great time. Great time, and it was called Be the Love Conference that weekend. That's not when I met you, Dove. I met you later, but yeah, So I remember, I remember looking at the Bible and the NTI, and I see ACIM when I see NTI. I don't see the Bible. I mean, when I said the New Testament, I'm looking at this chapter of the Bible and this of the new NTI, like, they don't necessarily match, but that's okay. NTI is closer to the course for me. That works for me.
Truth is
I like
truth, right?
it's truth is truth.
And if anyone wants to get the book, you go to Amazon and just put in NTI. That's all. NTI comes right up. Hey, is there anyone else has any thoughts on either NTI or anything tonight at all? Anyone want to share anything?
I wanted to thank Lynn for letting Spirit speak through her and just sharing parts of her story. And I love that you said my story. I love that. You know today that's not what it is anymore. And W asked the question. The song "Ooh Child" by the Five Stair Steps is the words go, someday things are going to get easier, someday things will get brighter. And I used to sing this, I used to play this song and sing loudly when things were going on in the house with my mother and my stepfather that were loud as the song I was singing. And I remember singing that. I remember the sun will come out tomorrow, things like that. I remember It's a Wonderful Life, the movie, and these things that helped me before I came to ACIM, before I knew about the course. And even as I was reading books along the way, different books that I can't even think of the titles right now, but that I wanted to believe it was in the books, but I couldn't believe it pertained to me. And then I too read Return to Love. That's what brought me to ACIM. But Lynn, thank you so much. I can hear a lot of my story and yours, and since it's all a story anyway, which of course the course reminds us that now is the only aspect of time that has meaning now. And I really am glad that you brought up. I was having a conversation earlier with someone who reminded me of me at a period of time when I thought that my life was cursed. And then you hear somebody else's story and you think, well, if it was true about me, then they were more cursed than I was. You know what I mean? We start doing that comparison thing, and gratitude for being able to be here today with smiles, with laughter, with poetry. And I too write poetry. We'll share one day. In fact, I got published in the John Mundy, one of the in the Miracles magazine one time. Remember that time poem I used to do, Dove, about time? It was a lengthy piece about time where I used to play on words with time. I'll find it and share it one day. But anyway, but grateful, because that's what it just kept it recognizing, just recognizing that I'm not alone. I've never been alone, that I've always been supported, that the only thing it took for me to feel the love was to give myself the love I was waiting to receive, to realize that I am the love. And today, and I'll argue anybody down. What do you mean curse? There's no such thing. You can't be cursed. I said, because God can't curse. God never cursed. God can't condemn, because God, there's nothing to forgive. It's just a matter of us recognizing that we are love, period. And that if we and I saw my life change as I saw my thoughts change, the way I was thinking about life changed. And to be here today, right now, is to me, it's just a gift, a blessing, family, love. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. And I'm complete.
All right, thank you so much for that. Go ahead, Lynn.
I'd just like to share another miracle. Thank you, Zuma. Yeah, I was all my life I was into poetry, and Khalil Gibran, the prophet, wrote, "The deeper sorrow carves in you, the more joy it could contain." I held on to that, Of course, I did believe it. There was a part of me that believed it. And guess what? Yeah, thank God. Well, this is a miracle. My mother, she had dementia, and the only thing she would notice if she had earrings on, she always had to have earrings on. And, when she passed, we dressed her and the jewelry and everything. And then when I saw her before she was buried, she didn't have earrings on. So I was able to take my earrings off and put on her ears. These are from her ring that she left me. And I wear her earrings. She wore my earrings. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That is.
Beautiful miracle.
Yes.
I'm going to ask for next week, does anyone volunteer to be the moderator for next Tuesday evening? Anyone feels that they would like to do that? I can tell you it's the way you strengthen your trust in listening to Spirit. I mean, talk about Regina listening to the Holy Spirit. It's your willingness that does it. It's willingness. That's all you really need. The willingness to say, let me step back and let him lead the way. You find that in lesson 155. I will step back and let him lead the way. Notice it follows 154. I am among the ministers of God. doesn't mean to get on the microphone like we do here. To teach is to be a demonstration of the peace and the light and the love that's in us, and we're all filled with the peace, light, and love. So that's all you're really sharing is the peace, light, and love in you. So again, if anyone would like to be for next week or moderator, just say so and it's yours.
It's so good for love.
Anyone have anything else to share?
Stuff I wanted to make sure you saw, I did put a link to that video in the chat.
Okay,
It shows the direct, it seems that that movie plays on all the major principles of the Bhagavad Gita.
okay. You mean the one here on YouTube, right?
Yep,
Thank you, thank
I
you.
think you'll find it
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, thanks for pointing it out, 'cause I didn't realize it was that.
What's the name of the movie?
Dagger Vance?
No, well, it's
The movie's Dagger Vance.
right, it's Corinne's taken. all
It's
of
not
the-
Corinne, it's somebody else that does, literally, even the name Dagger Vance comes from the Bhagavad Gita.
Right, actually, Lynn Johnson today picked up that bag of Vance is like another way of saying Bhagavan. You know, the gurus from India were all called Bhagavan. There's Rajesh, he was a Bhagavan, there was Ramana Maharshi.
It's a fascinating video. Yeah, The Legend of Bagger Vance.
Yeah.
That's the video.
She has left at this point, I think Kathy Jones. A lot of it was filmed on the island that she lives on, which is an island off of the coast of South Carolina. Okay. It's okay if no one does volunteer. And if you think about it during the week and you get in touch with either me or Cindy, and say, I'll do it. So that's fine. Otherwise, we'll just have our regular Tuesday evening and see what happens next Tuesday. But again, if the name of this group is Finding Your Own Inner Teacher. And the reason I felt that should be the name is like when I started with ACIM Gather, it was always about, and that started 18 years ago, back in 2004. It was always about having people take their turn to be moderators and teachers. And again, the people that do that and recognize the value of that go on to be teachers of other teachers. Regina started with us in 2005, and not too long later, she started Awakening Together. Lisa Natoli started in 2005. Not too long later, she and Bill started Teachers of God. There's so many stories of people who came through ACM Gather, but that whole, I did tell the story last week. That started way back in 1980 when I was leading a group in Greenwich Village, New York. And so many people thought that I knew something that they didn't know. And it came to me, I don't know, it's like, one day I said, listen, why don't you all take turns as moderator? And all the people that used to ask all the questions went on to become teachers of other teachers. I don't know, I think I told this story. One guy who used to be asking all the questions, he was a rear admiral in the Navy. He invited me to the United Nations 2 or 3 years later. And he was sitting at a table about 50, 75 feet long with about 50 countries, all having a copy of the Course in Miracles right in front of him. And he was leading the group. And he was asking all the questions a couple of years earlier. So there was so much strength that you get when you're willing to step back and let him lead the way. Regis Reeves is somebody who started. Regis is right here. I'll let Regis do his own talking. He started in 2008, and he leads us 2 or 3 times a week for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. When I share, I only do about a half hour. I don't do more than half hour. Regis goes on and on. Regis, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Just, yeah, it's when I met Dove and just accepted that invitation and the invitation to facilitate, take the mic. But I did it with faith. You know, and the first thing the ego says is you can't fill up an hour, you know, or if it's 30 minutes, you can't fill up 30 minutes. You don't have an hour worth of content. And you just say to the ego, so I'll just sit there and stare in the camera if that happens. But you know, but it's you know, we talk about with the Course of Miracles, it's not necessarily a ladder or steps, but it's a leap. You know, you go so far and then you leap, and you go so far and you leap. So just I was thinking about Dove today and real thinking about how what we see and we can change our mind about things, things that intimidate us, things that scare us. We can just change our mind about it. That's the only thing that we can change, is our mind. And I thought about Dove started in a chat room before there was web cameras. And then he went into Pal Talk. And well, when they was just chatting, and then we went into Pal Talk where we could actually take a mic and speak. And you think about, I still meet people today. You still hear conversations about people who are skeptical of the internet. They are skeptical of social media, you know, and you can change your mind. And Dove had a different mind about the internet, a different mind about social media. That, yeah, there are people that will scam you. There are people that will hurt you. There are people that will do things. But to take this vehicle, which is a creation, and everything that is a source of creation and joy and happiness, and to serve us, and to take this instrument of the World Wide Web and social media platforms, and to see that I can facilitate love, I can facilitate peace through this medium versus being afraid of it, versus saying, oh, people can rob you and steal your identity and scam you, but I can take this medium and use it for love and use it for God. In the day that he did it, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Dove is cutting edge on taking the World Wide Web and using it for good. When people were skeptical, when I first came to the internet, everybody had some pseudo name. They was afraid to use their real name, you know. And so to see where we are, and everybody have their real name posted now, and you don't need a pseudo name, and you don't need to hide in the shadows. It's just amazing to see the growth, the development, to see what this opportunity led to and what it is constantly leading to, and just taking that leap of faith. And so when he's asking to facilitate or take the mic, it's not, well, what am I going to talk about? The ego speaks first and speaks loudest, always. And to learn to just say, okay, my wife and I have a thing that we say a lot in our house is feel the fear and do it anyway. We read in the Course in Miracles last week that the body is made to fear. You know, it's just that's what but we repurpose the body. We repurpose everything that's here, and for love, for good, for grace, and we can do that. We have the power to do that. It's gonna serve me. And Zoom and I, similar birthday lessons, you know, I have a kingdom that I must rule. I'm his ruler, but it sometimes don't seem that I'm his ruler at all. It tells me what to think. It tells me what to do. It's my mind. You know, I'm telling my mind what to think. I'm telling my mind how to get me from point A to point B, not my mind telling me. My mind tells me I don't have 30 minutes of content to talk about. My mind tells me you can't talk on the mic for an hour. You don't know anything. You know, but then I tell my mind to join in my purpose and to facilitate my purpose, which is God, which is peace, which is love. Back to you, Dove.
Thank you so much, Regis. I just want to acknowledge that Chair Murphy started also teaching at ACM Gather in the first year that we had teachers. This was in 2005. She was on every Monday on a regular basis. And of course, Zulma started just about the same time as you started at ACM Gather. So what it's about is developing trust. And
Good morning.
the line the course said, trust would settle every problem now. Because when you trust, you know that this is really not you. It's that it's all being given to you. Everything is happening for you. That there's nothing happening against you. Nothing. It's all for you. TRUST, to rely upon spirit totally. And nothing does it better than teaching, literally. Okay.
Been an hour.
All right,
I know,
I'll just-
I know we're over our time, Cindy. So I'm gonna say thank you very much all for being here. If anyone again wants to lead next, Zuma, do you want to lead? All right,
I'll do it.
Zuma's gonna lead next Tuesday night. Thank you so much, Zuma. Thank you
All right,
all for
family.
being here.
Good night, everybody. Love you.
Love
Love
all.
you.
Thank you.